no, you're not having the engagement ring back. That is mine. I'm holding on to it. It represents that part of my life and who I was, and I will be keeping it. Thank you very much for your services, sir. What's up, my little love buckets? Welcome back to another episode of the JD Remedy. Okay, I need to stop having so much coffee before I start recording, but how the hell are ya? How is everyone doing? I am doing really well. I feel like I've gotten a little bit more back on track with my eating and eating healthy and not binging, and if anyone can relate. So yeah, I've got some things in place and I'm feeling a little bit better with my health, so that's all on track. Another update, my boyfie moved in over the weekend, so that was fun times. If any of you girls can relate, it's like to share this pretty space with a boy. Look, there's pros and cons. No, but that was really fun. So now he's here with me, which is nice to have some company. And yeah, things are going really well. But I have some recommendations for you guys before we get into today's episode. So I watched Hotel Mumbai. Hotel Mumbai? I don't actually know how to say it. Hotel Mumbai. Awful. Absolutely awful. It's a true story. And it's a movie that was made about a true story. So that was pretty cool to watch. It was actually a movie instead of a documentary. So it's a true story of the Taj Hotel terrorist attacks that happened in Mumbai. And hotel staff risked their lives to keep everyone, like all the people in the hotel, as safe as possible. And they made, just as some of the stuff that they did to keep the hotel visitors safe was insane to me. Obviously beautiful acts of courage, and just that it was a true story. Like there was a few different attacks within the city on the same night, like they did the train station and a few other places, but the biggest one was this grand hotel in Mumbai, and a lot of people were killed. And I think because the hotel was so massive, like you don't just, when you picture a hotel, I live in Perth, I just think about, like the Duxton, and you just picture things like that. But this was actually massive. It looked like a frigging castle. And they were so understaffed in terms of police in Mumbai that they couldn't do anything. They just sat outside the hotel monitoring the building, watching it all unfold. Like there were fires going off in different rooms of the hotel. Like you could hear gunshots. But no one went in until, I think they waited over 24 hours to go inside because they couldn't get help from like neighboring cities and countries and stuff to come in and help. They didn't have an army or anything like that. And so a lot of people died in the wait of being helped. And I got the statistics, hang on. So this shows up at the end of the movie. So it says, in the aftermath of the Mumbai attacks, 9 of the 10 terrorists were dead. Yeah, the masterminds behind the operation were never apprehended. And of the casualties inside the Taj Mahal, half were staff members who had remained behind to protect their guests. How insane is that? They would have had families and stuff. One part of the movie, in one of the scenes, they had just found out they were under attack, and they had the choice to leave the hotel. These are staff members. They were in like the chef's kitchen and stuff, all the chefs and all the kitchen hands and waiters and stuff. The chef said, like, no judgment if you want to leave. I know you all have families. You can go if you want. I think there are about 20 of them. One person left to go home to his family, and the rest of them stayed. Like, I'm here to, I think, what are they kept saying, like, God is the people, like the people are God or something like that. So they were so just dedicated to keeping these guests alive. And you can see it throughout the whole movie. The sacrifices they make to keep these guests alive was just insane. So within 21 months after the attacks, the hotel was rebuilt. And they just kept going back to work. And obviously a lot of the staff that went through it still work there today, which I thought was insane. I couldn't find how many people died, but it was awful. It was so sad. Like, they just walked into the hotel lobby and opened gunfire, like rifles and stuff. So you can just imagine. And a lot of it was because this was a very wealthy hotel. A lot of wealthy guests frequented, is that a word? Frequented this hotel. It was obviously in a wealthy part of India, and they were taking hostage the rich white people in hopes that they would get money from them. So they were just killing everyone that wasn't wealthy or white. They were just killing everyone, and then, taking the white rich people hostage, the tourists that were there visiting. But, spoiler alert, they all died anyway, because they didn't, I think toward the end they were like, there's just no time to make the trade anymore. We're going to die anyway. There's like SWAT team outside, and they just killed all the hostages anyway. It was so sad. And it follows the story of a few individuals in particular. All their stories are real. And it was just horrible to think that they had to go through this for over 24 hours. They were stuck in this hotel, hiding in rooms, watching people die. Like, they had secret rooms throughout the hotels that the staff were aware of. So they were trying to get guests to this secret room so they couldn't be attacked, because you couldn't get to this room unless you knew where it was. And it was just so scary. Like, hundreds of people were like running underground pretty much, like trying to run. And it wasn't until very early hours of the following day that some people made it out alive, and the rest unfortunately didn't. So it was a really interesting movie to watch, but true stories just make it that more intense, because that it's happened in real life. So that was really awful. Today I want to do something a little different. I'm going to be answering questions that are in the groups, just my point of view, my opinion, and see if I can help. So I'm just going to talk about some of the questions that have been coming through and answer them live on the call for you guys. Well, when I say live, me, myself, and I are live. So I'll keep them anonymous, obviously, but let's do it. Okay, so this is from an anonymous poster, which I will keep secret. Today, I've just found out my ex and a friend of mine are sleeping together. I didn't seek this information. Unfortunately, sometimes you get told things like that. We're only 7 weeks out of the relationship, and I'm still waiting to get some sentimental furniture off him because we lived together, but he's been dragging it out. I've been doing well since the breakup, but this has really hurt me, and I'm feeling like I've gone a few steps backwards today. Just need some advice and maybe some perspective, because I'm feeling really betrayed by both of them. Would appreciate any words of wisdom. First of all, I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. That is awful. And I think there's no worse a betrayal than your friend sleeping with your boyfriend. Like, that's awful. And I obviously hope that when you broke up with him, the friendship with your girlfriend also ended, because that's just such betrayal. Girl code. But I think it's completely normal to feel a little lost, a little sad, and continuing to feel a little lost and sad. And I think you'll probably go through the different stages of grief. Like, at some point you'll feel sad, at some point you'll feel angry, then confused, or whatever order they're in, because it's almost like you have to do it twice over, because not only were you betrayed by your boyfriend, but you were betrayed by your friend. And I think especially for the girl, I don't know how long you guys were friends. I'm assuming you knew her longer than the guy. That's like a lot of memories that you're letting go of, a lot of trust that's been broken. And that relationship would have been stronger and gone on longer than with the guy, my assumption, which is usually the case. So it's like two relationships that you're mourning. So of course it's going to go longer, and of course it's going to feel awful, and you're going to feel hurt for a little bit more longer. But unfortunately, sometimes things happen for some reason. It has to teach us something, right? So if you want to think positively, it's like, look, it has happened already. Take as much time as you need to mourn and be upset and, mourn the loss of your friend, mourn the loss of that relationship and what was broken. But, what's it going to teach you moving forward? Were there red flags? Did you get a gut feeling? Did she behave in a way that you didn't really trust her in the first place, or vice versa with the guy? So what can you look out for in the future? And now you know what kind of friend you don't want, right? Not that you meet someone and you go, hey, I'm going to fuck your boyfriend later, but it has taught you something, and you at the end of the day are the one that has walked away. You're going to be stronger for it, and they're probably feeling sorry for themselves and they feel guilty and they feel hurt, especially the friend. Well, I hope anyway. So you can walk away with this knowing that you've stood up for yourself and you've cut the relationship and you've cut the ties from both of them, because that is something you should be proud of. It's shown you that you value yourself, you know what you're worth, and you're not going to tolerate that shit. You're not going to put up with it. So hold your head high and be proud of yourself for making that decision. I'm sure it was a hard one. And yeah, mourn the relationships, both of them, and you'll be stronger for it later on. And I'm so sorry that happened to you, but there's some shitty people out there. But hold your head high, girlfriend. You've got this. All right, the next one, which again, I will keep anonymous. It says, do you have any tips for handling friends that don't like each other? I don't want them to be all buddy-buddy, but I'd like to not feel internally shit and conflicted about it all. I'm assuming it's like in the same friend group maybe, or you have two different friend groups and you want them to be friends. I'm not really sure. I'm just going to assume for the point of explaining this that they're in the same friend group or same vicinity or circle of people. I know it's really hard, especially if you're someone that really values connection and relationships. It's like you hate conflict, it makes you uncomfortable, and you just want everyone to get along. But at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, for what purpose do you want them to get along? Like, is it to the point where it's uncomfortable to go to birthdays because they're fighting, or it's just uncomfortable and a weird vibe for everyone at the party? Or is it actually affecting you? And if so, in what way? Are you making it your problem when it's actually not your problem and it's not affecting anyone? Or is it affecting you because it's uncomfortable for everyone when they're in the same room? So decide that first, because you don't want to take on problems that aren't your problem, because then it will just cause you more stress, more heartache, more of your time and energy to try and fix something that's not your problem in the first place. But I can totally resonate with two people not getting along. You can just sense the tension in the air. And especially if you want everyone to get along and you know how awesome both those people are individually, it's like, why don't you like each other? I know you're both awesome. Let me just read over your question again. At the end of the day, I think it is their business, especially depending on why they don't like each other or why they don't talk. That's obviously their right not to like somebody else or not want to engage with someone else. That's completely their right and their business. But it depends what kind of friendship dynamic you guys have. If you are all a group of besties and they've just had a falling out, or, they don't know each other that well, or whatever it is, maybe if you do want to try and fix things for them, just encourage either one of them, let them know how it's making the group feel or how you feel, and encourage them to hash it out. Otherwise, why do you all have to hang out as a group? Can you go to lunch with one of the girls and dinner with the other girl, or just catch up with them individually? I think as I've gotten older, for sure, I definitely value one-on-one time with my girlfriends. Group things over 4 people. No thanks. Not at my age anyway. So I really enjoy my one-on-one time because it's a bit more private, it's a bit more intimate, it's way more of a connection, and there's no competition or, you know what it's like hanging out in a group of girls. So, maybe it's a blessing that they hate each other because it's trying to tell you spend more one-on-one time with both of these girls. But yeah, I don't know the whole situation of what's happened or the ins and outs of the dynamic of the relationship, but definitely don't get involved if it's not your business, but also just really try and understand how it's affecting you and why you want them to be friends in the first place. Because if it's not affecting anyone, just let them be. It'll take its natural course anyway, right? And don't mess with Mother Nature, because I'm not sure how old you are, but we're meant to have falling outs with people. We're meant to outgrow people, and relationships take their natural course. So maybe it's just time that the group is falling apart, or it's just natural that we're starting to like move away from people. So let that happen naturally. And if you want to maintain a friendship individually with both of them, then do that. That would be my advice to you. Okay, so I've recently separated from my husband after around 6 months of marriage. He's asking me to give him the engagement ring back because he paid for it, but has no problem with me keeping my wedding ring because I paid for it. He also offered me his wedding ring for the same reason. Am I within my rights to refuse to give him my engagement ring back? I'm not planning to sell it or have it remade. I just want it for sentimental reasons. It was picked out for me and bought new. I refused his offer to have his wedding ring back. I want him to have it. Thanks. Girl, I relate to this because I have an engagement ring sitting in my cupboard doing nothing but collecting dust. Absolutely, you have the right to keep it. It's yours. It was given to you as a gift. It's like you don't fucking, all the Valentine's Day gifts or presents he's ever bought you, you don't see him asking for those back. It's just obviously because the engagement ring was expensive, right? But absolutely not. It was yours. If he wants it for value for money, then he can just sell his wedding ring that he paid for himself. So no, unfortunately, I think it's like the icky part of a breakup of an engagement is, fuck, what do we do with the rings? Yeah, it really just depends on the guy and what they want it back for. But no, you have every right to keep it. Just say, no, sorry, it's mine. It was given to me. It is now officially my property. Just because you bought something doesn't mean it's yours. Like if you gave it to someone, it's yours. What's he going to do? Break into your house and steal it? Just say, no, sorry, I'm keeping it for sentimental value. If you need the money, you can sell your wedding ring that you paid for yourself. But I'm sorry you're in that position. I think I was lucky enough to not be in that position. I wanted to keep mine for sentimental value. I don't even think he asked for it back. But I've gotten to the point where when you find new relationships, it's like, it's not even sentimental anymore. Like I could probably use the money, so I might sell it. I know that sounds really harsh, but it's true. It's like for a while it sat there because it was, obviously it's really special. You get an engagement ring, but yeah, now I just feel bad that it's expensive and it's just sitting in the cupboard building dust. Like someone else could really be enjoying that ring. Someone could be wearing it and I feel bad for it. Like it has its own personality and it's just sitting in a box. So keep it if you want, if that makes you feel better. Hold on to it. It's yours. If you feel connected to that ring and it's a representation of that time of your life, because as females and I think as humans, we use inanimate objects as a way to emotionally hold on to something or connect to something. And that ring is a symbol of that time of your life. You were married. That's such a big thing. That's a huge thing. So no, you're not having the engagement ring back. That is mine. I'm holding on to it. It represents that part of my life and who I was, and I will be keeping it. Thank you very much for your services, sir. See you later. Stand your ground, babe. Absolutely stand your ground. You don't owe him anything. So keep it, on to the next one. Hey girl, so tonight I went on a date with a guy and I got all the feels that you're meant to feel and it feels great. Lots of feels. I'm so nervous to let someone into my life. I have a son and his dad burnt me really bad when we were together. So I've closed myself off for so long, but I'm so scared to open up and love again, and even more scared to introduce my son when the time comes. But I don't want this one to get away just because I'm insecure. Please give me some advice. Oh, babe, I totally get it. So there's lots of stuff going on here. I think the fact that you have a child is such a big thing, and you have every right to be hesitant to who you invite to meet him. I think if you didn't have a son, it might be a different story, but all the feelings you're feeling, all the feels are 100% warranted and should be listened to. Regardless of whether you had a son or not, I think it's normal to have hesitations after you've been burnt. But something that's really important to think about is what you don't deal with, you will continue to carry into your following relationships. So the stuff that he hurt you with, like what made you burnt, quote unquote, and what you're traumatized about needs to be dealt with in a healthy manner. Whether that's therapy, journaling, talking to a friend, like you need to work on it, even though I'm not saying get over it right now, but you need to be working at it. Otherwise, it will hold you back. It will hold you back. So that's one spectrum of it. But the other side of the spectrum is it's okay to have your own boundaries and gut feelings. So if this date went well, it's okay for you to put things in place, whether it's just in your head and with yourself or out loud and communicate it to this person. Like, that makes me uncomfortable, or right now I'm ready to go on a second date, and that's it. Like, maybe you're not ready to sleep together, maybe you're not ready for him to meet your son, and that's fine. But that needs to be communicated as well. And it doesn't need to come with an explanation like, I'm not ready to do this because I was hurt. That's no one's business but your own. But it needs to be communicated in a way that he knows your boundaries, and that's it. You don't owe him an explanation. It's, yes, I'd be happy to go on a second date at this stage. I'm comfortable with that. And that's it. And you take it day by day. Try not to think too far into the future. Try not to freak yourself out. You don't owe anyone any timeline or any explanation or anything. Take it day by day and go by your natural instinct and what you're comfortable with. Your intuition will tell you when is the right time, and take pressure off it. Like, you'll make mistakes. It's okay. Like, but then you learn from it and you don't do it the next time, or you do it differently the next time, right? We put so much pressure on, there's a specific time for everything, but we don't know what that time is until we try it. Okay, so take the pressure off yourself, but just put some healthy boundaries in place. Do whatever's comfortable for you. It doesn't have to come with an explanation attached. And take your time with it, but more importantly, heal yourself. Talk with a therapist about what's hurt you and how you can overcome that so that it doesn't drag into future relationships. Because from an outsider perspective, I'm sure you would tell your friend this as well. It's like, your new relationships don't deserve what your ex did to you, if that makes sense. So we have to deal with this, unfortunately. Our exes should pay for our therapy, is my opinion. We're going to therapy because of you. You should pay for it. All jokes aside, though, just make sure you're looking after yourself. And boundaries are good. Hey girl, I saw your post about running into an ex on Instagram and I laughed so hard I had to share this with you. A few months ago, I was casually seeing someone. We went on about 5 or 6 dates. Although after sleeping together, I knew we weren't compatible, I also felt a bit used, like he was insecure and waiting or wanting to use me to sleep with me. Use me to sleep with someone he thought was out of his league. We both cut contact and haven't spoken since. However, last night I went out to a local pub. I live in a small town and there's not many options. Forgetting my ex is close friends with the owners and obviously was there. Oh shit. I wasn't sure how to react or if I should acknowledge him, but I also didn't get a chance to talk as I was busy with my own friends. However, I felt extremely uncomfortable as he seemed to be staring at me all night. A couple of questions. How do I deal with the situation without making things even more awkward or leading him on? What is common courtesy when it comes to seeing an ex in general? Was I supposed to say hello and move on? Am I supposed to ignore them? Okay. Yeah, that's awkward. Your first question, how do I deal with the situation without making things even more awkward? I think the thing with awkwardness and anxiety is we all have our own interpretations of what an experience is. In your head, you're probably freaking the fuck out and you're anxious and you're uncomfortable and you're awkward and you're like, oh my God, he's staring at me. Like, do I approach him? What do I do? But in his head, he's probably like, oh, there's so-and-so. Wonder how she's doing. Like, I don't know if that's what was going in his head, but we never know. We should never make assumptions of how other people feel or what's going on really in the situation. It's all in our head. Everyone has their own filter of reality. Just remember that. I think if you are at a stage where you're super uncomfortable and awkward, don't stay in that situation. Just leave. Like, you shouldn't have to leave, but I'm saying, like, you have control over how you feel. So either go to a different part of the bar where you can't see him. Tell your friends to stop encouraging the situation. Like, I can just imagine people around you going, oh, he's staring at you. Oh my God, are you going to go talk to him? Like, if that makes it worse, if that heightens your anxiety, then say, can you not do that? You're freaking me the fuck out. Stop. Or go to a different part of the bar where you can't see him. Or just leave altogether, knowing that he's not going to be at a new place that you go to. Like, you have control of where you are and what's going on, right? In terms of the second question, what is common courtesy? I say fuck common courtesy. There should be no rule about how you interact with someone, especially your ex-boyfriend. It's going to be different for every single person, every single scenario. Everyone's breakup was different. Everyone's ex-boyfriend is different. Fuck common courtesy, okay? What are you comfortable with? If you saw him in public and he used to abuse you, or you see him in public and it was a mutual breakup and you guys are friends, like, I'm assuming you obviously spoke about what your situation was. If you feel confident, if you fucking washed your hair, if you've got makeup on and you feel confident and you want a bit of closure, or you just want to say hi, then go say hi. If you feel awkward and you're like, I really am pissed off at him, then just keep walking, babe. Like, there's no rule about what you're expected to do. Oh! Hey, Bubby. I just want you girls to know, like, there's no right or wrong answer here, and there's no common courtesy. It's like, you don't owe them anything. There's no rule or common courtesy that you have to speak to that person. Hell no. Go with your gut feeling. If you see them and you freak out and you want to dive in a bush and hide, then do that. But if you feel confident enough and you feel settled, you're like, oh, there's that guy. I wonder what he's up to. Go talk to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no rule about what you should and shouldn't do. So trust your gut. Whatever comes up in the moment, act on it. It's fine. It's all good. I know it's scary, but you got this. I want to empower you guys to do what's best for you and what's right for you. Another one. Okay. I was thinking about when we know it's time to move on from a past relationship / hurt in us and related it back to work. I was getting pretty tired of my current job and just knew I wasn't getting out of it what I needed in life, and I was offered a full-time position in a role that offers better pay and opportunities. In that moment, I thought back to a heartbreak 2 years ago that I am still coming to terms with, and looking at the situation as a job I had to move on from. Made it more factual instead of emotional, like looking at it from the cut and dry view as a toxic workplace that I couldn't stay in any longer. And it actually helped me with healing. I don't know people's thoughts on their ways of moving on, but it just felt good to me. I wanted to talk about this because I've actually been saying this to a friend of mine who she feels is in a toxic workplace. And the language that she uses, I keep saying to her, you sound like you're in an abusive relationship. And it's interesting that we make the same connection, because all it is our highest values and why we want to stay and why we want to leave. And if you put those three things in any situation, with a friend, with a partner, in a workplace, it's the same things that drive us. It's the same thing that motivates us, the same things that make us want to stay. Connection, feeling valued, love, support, growth, right? Like, why do we stay? Why do we want to go? So it's no wonder that you're comparing the two. But some things that have come from her are, like, she keeps telling me she wants to leave. She's not happy. She's upset. She's frustrated. And then she makes the decision to leave. And then a couple of days later, she will have a conversation and she's decided to stay because he told me that he's going to do this, or he told me that in a couple of weeks this will happen. Question for you girls. Am I talking about her in a relationship sense or a workplace? It can be either. It's the workplace. Those were her words, in a workplace. And I'm hearing this fucking language of, you know, that connection where you have a friend that's in a toxic relationship and they're like, oh, but he said he's sorry. You know, I just want to make it work. Oh, but he does say some nice things. Exactly the same for her in the workplace. Sometimes I feel motivated. Sometimes he praises me. He told me if I just do this or hit this milestone, then I can stay. Like, one way or another, it's kind of manipulation. One way or another, it's still a toxic environment because you're more sad and angry and disappointed than happy and motivated and winning at life. So why is it okay for us to stay in a toxic workplace, but we encourage people to leave toxic relationships? It's the same paradigm, just a different environment. Like, get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Obviously, she made that conclusion herself, but I just thought it was so interesting. And if you get clear on your highest values as a person, it's probably the most powerful thing you can do, because you can apply it to the workplace, you can apply it in a romantic relationship, in your friendship circle, if you know what drives you. And if you know what your highest values are and what drives you, you can also see where you're lacking and where the missing gap is. If you're in a workplace that doesn't meet your highest needs, for me, it's love, connection, growth, I think community and purpose. I think my fifth one was, I always forget the fifth one. If you don't have that in your workplace, you're not going to feel motivated. You're not going to want to be there. It's the same in a relationship. You don't feel love, you don't feel connection, right? Then you're going to feel like something's missing and you're going to want to leave. So I don't know where I'm going off topic with this, but it's just interesting that she made those two connections herself. And I want you guys to think about it if you're in a similar situation or you're watching a friend in a similar situation. Because I've said to her, if I was in your shoes, but I was in a toxic relationship with a guy, what would you be saying to me? And she's like, yeah, I need to leave. I'm like, yeah, you do. You do. But great realization. Good for you. You guys are learning. Okay, another one. Friends that consistently and repeatedly let you down, especially when you need them most. How do you cope with this? Are you cutthroat and just end the friendship and move on? Do you try and talk to them about it and express that you need more from them? Great question. First things first, if you continue to allow your friend to treat you like shit, to let you down, to just be a shit person, and there's no consequences in place, like you don't say anything or you don't break up with them, they continue that behavior because they think that behavior is okay in their eyes because it's not met with a consequence or a pattern interrupt is what we call it. So I'm glad that you followed up with a couple of questions, because when you said, how do you cope with it? That's not something you cope with. That's not something that you have to try and deal with on your own and hope that it gets better. No, you just don't tolerate it. And how you act after someone has let you down or constantly lets you down and is a constant behavior from them, especially a friend, says a lot about how you value yourself and where your self-worth is at. Because if it happens a couple of times, like I'm someone that's pretty lenient with everyone makes mistakes, it's all good, we're all human. But if it's constant, I'm like, that's fucked. But how many chances are you giving them before you say it's too much, I'm done? Because the more you put up with says a lot about what you think is good enough for you. How long has negative behaviors been happening for you? And that will say if you tolerate that stuff. You know, you think that you're worth being let down all the time. You think you're worth a friend that's not there for you when you need it most. And in terms of being cutthroat and just ending the friendship, I always say, like, have the communication first, because remember I said that everyone has their own perception of reality. Unfortunately, not a lot of people have self-awareness of their behavior and how it affects others. or maybe they just haven't taken ownership on how they've behaved, or they're like getting really comfortable in the relationship and they start slacking and they start behaving inappropriately. So I always say have communication first so the other person has the opportunity to hear how you feel, and you always want to give them the chance to change their behavior. Because if you straight out the gate are like, hey, you keep fucking letting me down, and they haven't realized they've been letting you down, maybe in their head they're just like, oh fuck, I was running late that day, I know she'll forgive me, she's my best friend. Like, you know, there's a different example of, as girls, when something annoys us with our boyfriend, we don't say it immediately. We just like stew on it for a week, and then they like drop a spoon and we fucking explode at them, and they're like, oh my God, I just dropped a spoon, you're a psycho. It's like, no, you've done lots of little things that whole week leading up to the drop spoon, and now I hate you. It's the same, like you want to give your friend the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, like I just want to have a conversation with you. It really upsets me every time you let me down. And it might be a certain example or scenario of how they've let you down. Like, it really upsets me when we make plans and then you cancel last minute. It really upsets me when you say you're going to show up for X, Y, and Z and you don't. It really upsets me when you say these words because it makes me feel like I'm less than, or it makes me feel like you don't trust me, or whatever the conversation and dynamic is in your friendship. I always encourage people, have the conversation so you give the other person the opportunity. And then if nothing changes, you can then be fucking cutthroat. Look, I've had this conversation with you and you've actually now chosen to completely ignore it, and the behavior hasn't changed. So unfortunately, I can't be your fucking friend anymore, bitch. This is just unhealthy for me now. And I'm just going to distance myself. And you know what? If you're uncomfortable having that cutthroat conversation, there's another way to get yourself out of the friendship, is just gradually stop making plans and gradually stop communication, and it'll just fade out. You know, and if they're quite persistent and they won't leave you alone, you're going to have to put your big girl panties on and have that conversation. But if they're a friend that lets you down anyway, stop making plans with them. Stop making plans with them. Stop giving them the opportunity. And yeah, it'll naturally take its course. Maybe you've outgrown them. Maybe they no longer serve a purpose in your life, and that's okay as well. There's a whole episode I did on friendships already. So it's called How to Break Up with Your Friend. So definitely check that one out. It goes a little bit more in depth about how to break up with your friend and toxic friendships and things like that. So I thought that was a really interesting question, and I'm glad I covered it for you guys. Okay, I've got a couple more for you guys. So first one is, I've been seeing a guy on and off for 6 months. He says he has commitment issues and wants to go with the flow. Do you think he will change? Okay, there's a lot in this. I don't like it when people use excuses like commitment issues. Like, what is a commitment issue? Do you have issues committing to going to work, to getting out of bed in the morning, to going to the gym? Or is it just you have quote unquote commitment issues with tying yourself down with one girl because you want to play the field? Like, what even is a commitment issue? First of all, don't fucking use that shit with me. I'm talking to the guy, not the girl that wrote this. I'm with you, girl. It's bullshit. So when you say you've been seeing him for on and off for 6 months, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Everyone has their own interpretation and boundaries with seeing each other, but I'm assuming, again, is this a miscommunication thing? Have you been pretty relaxed about it for 6 months and it's been on and off, and you haven't set the boundary of, I want commitment. I don't want you seeing other people. I'm not seeing other people. Or have you said that and his excuse is, I have commitment issues, and he's going with the flow, right? And for some people, that's okay. For some people are like, cool, this isn't a serious thing, and that's fine. I'm going to date other people. But if you're at that stage where you're ready to commit and he's not, that's okay too. But that just means then he's not the right person for you at this time, because you're ready for something serious and he's not. There's no point like wringing that rag dry. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not ready. So I think a lot of girls put a lot of energy into quote unquote trying to change a guy That's not up to us. We want to meet people that are ready and where we're at. And if you're at the stage where you're having fun dating and being single and seeing lots of people at different times, then he's great for you, because you can both just go on dates casually and still spend time together and have that connection from one another. But if you're ready for something serious and he's not, you are going to be banging your head against a wall, babe, trying to drag him to meet you where you are, and he's not. And that's how hurt happens. That's how cheating happens. That's how sneakiness and lying and behind the back happens, because you're trying to force him to meet you where you're at. And I think by the sounds of it, I don't like judging people, but by the sounds of it, babe, he's not looking for something serious right now. Otherwise, he would just commit. Also, whatever his interpretation of commitment issues are, that's a red flag. It's been 6 months with one person. Is he doing anything to work on himself? Is he doing anything to deal with whatever happened to lead him to those fucking commitment issues? And he obviously hasn't. And him saying, I have commitment issues and I just like going with the flow, tells me that he's settling with his issues and he doesn't care for working on them. So he doesn't care that he's sabotaging relationships and people he meets, because he can't be fucked working on the issues. Different outlook and perspective on that. So again, that's just a red flag and not the kind of shit you want to be dealing with. There's plenty more fish in the sea. I know it's hard, and I know you probably have that connection with him, especially after 6 months, but it's trying to force people to be ready and meet you where you're at is way more time and energy than you can afford to let go of. Just date someone that is actually willing to give you their time and commit to you, because you deserve to be committed to. You deserve to have someone that is meeting you and running the same race as you. Okay? And let's do one more. Does anyone find it hard to know if something is a red flag or if you're just being paranoid? Hard to tell because no one is perfect. Yes. I don't like it when people label themselves as a paranoid. I think there's definitely, we tend to overthink and we're anxious, but I don't think it's paranoid. Especially if you've been through stuff before, you're on high alert. I talk about lessons all the time. And I just say that you have experience with people's behaviors and their emotions and their words. You have been through this before probably. And what I would say that paranoia is a gut feeling and your intuition. And never, ever ignore it. Okay? If he's starting to do things that you're already a bit oh, that's making me uncomfortable, or I'm not sure about that, that's your gut feeling saying that's a fucking red flag. That's not your gut. Listen to it and be very in tune with it, because the universe or yourself or whatever it is trying to tell you that shit's coming, right? So red flags are just gut feelings and intuition. And if you look at it like that, it's a bit more of a positive way of the universe kind of steering you through the dating life to find your perfect man, And no one's perfect, but it's up to you to determine what are your non-negotiables? What are your big things that you won't settle for? Cheating, lying, drugs. I don't know what your non-negotiables are. Or are there little things that's he spends time with the boys a lot. It's annoying, but it's not a deal breaker. Or what are your things that you're oh, look, I just don't care. Maybe he leaves his fucking socks on the floor. So you determine with yourself what your non-negotiables are and what's kind of annoying, but you're okay to deal with it, and what doesn't really bother you. Because then when you're meeting people and you're dating, are those red flags huge non-negotiables, or are they just that's a characteristic that I've just noticed about you that's kind of fucking annoying? Do you know what I mean? So you set your own boundaries. What are you comfortable with while you're dating, and what are you not comfortable with? And what is your gut feeling telling you? Interesting. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there because it's already a long ass potty, but I really hope you enjoyed this segment. I might do more questions in another episode. I really love hearing from you guys and helping you out. I think the questions were really good questions, and hopefully the listeners heard a lot about it as well. yeah, if you guys want to hear more from me or connect or even ask me a question, head to my Instagram page, which is Jade Delper, and you'll see everything in the link in my bio on where to find me, including the Facebook group for this podcast where you can ask questions and I post the episodes where we can discuss it and talk about it together. So thank you so much for tuning in this week. I love you so much.